What is fascia? Find out on this next episode of Digest This.
Welcome to Digest This, the show that helps you revolutionize your digestive health. Here are your hosts, Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato.
Hello, and welcome to Digest This. I'm Dr. Liz Cruz, and I've got Tina Nunziato sitting right here by my side. If you're watching us, you will see us. And thank you so much for being on this show with us. If you're one of our regular listeners, we love you, and we appreciate that you continue to take the time to hang out with us. And if you are a new listener, we welcome you with open arms. And we are so excited that you have found us. We do have a library of over 500 episodes, and we've been podcasting for 15 years plus. And so thank you for finding us. So let's get started here.
The miracle of fascia.
The miracle of fascia. So maybe you've seen something on fascia. Maybe I'm just seeing stuff on fascia because I've been really getting into fascia and just doing a lot of research on it over the last several months.
Yes, you've been bugging me for this podcast for a while.
I have.
Yeah. So where did this interest in fascia come from? How far back does this go?
I would say, I think that, first of all, I'm familiar with fascia because when we were in medical school during our anatomy class, we did a lot, when we were working on our cadavers, we were working through fascia as you would dissect through muscles and actually, if you've ever worked with meat, if you've worked with chicken or turkey, beef, whatever, there is fascia in there that you're dealing with, that thin silvery membrane that you see when you peel the skin off and it's kind of coating the meat. That is fascia. So fascia is everywhere. And I think that I started becoming more intrigued by what fascia does in our body. I don't know, maybe a year ago. I can't exactly remember what happened, but I just know that I started learning about something called myofascial release, which is something that some physical therapists do. And basically what they're doing is going in there to try to soften up the fascia, to try to work knots out of the fascia.
Primarily, there's people who do it in the head area.
Cranial sacral. Absolutely.
But then it's primarily in the back area. Is that?
Fascia could be anywhere, you could be doing in the back. Like currently I've been doing some techniques that will help in my back and my shoulders, and also like in my hip area.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about fascia. So fascia is basically like a web-like casing. You could almost say it's like a wrap, like a plastic, a saran wrap, that coats, it's under the skin. It covers muscles, nerves, blood vessels. It's like a connective webbing system that runs through our body to kind of hold everything together and to kind of make everything glide smoothly, so the muscles will glide smoothly. And it's made from connective tissue, collagen. Collagen is like the main ingredient of that connective tissue that is called fascia. So it's everywhere throughout your body. And it's so important because it helps to keep smoothness and gliding of the muscles so that they're moving. And what happens is with time, with age, that fascia, especially if we are not moving, especially if we're dehydrated, that fascia starts to get sticky and tight, and you start to get knots. Okay. And a lot of people, you go for massages, and sometimes the massage therapist will say, oh, you've got a really tight muscle there. What that really is tight fascia. Yes, you may have tight muscles, but the fascia also has become sticky and tight. And you can even have like adhesions. Okay. And so a lot of those knots are fascia.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that happens as we start to get older is we're not as active as we used to be. And that's why being active and continuing that movement. And recently, our son was in a show at the local youth theater, and they were doing the show Chicago, and two of the main actresses were dancing. And these are teenagers that are out there, and the way they were dancing and moving their shoulders, I thought to myself, no wonder young people don't have problems with their fascia. They're still active and moving and doing all these movements that keep the muscles, that keep the fascia nice and glidey. Okay, because that's what you want it to be. And then fast forward, we start getting
40 years.
fast forward, to 30, 40 years, you start, life happens and you get busy and you start having your own family and you're working and you're crazy busy and you're not moving. And when I say moving, I mean some form of exercise, whether it's walking or swimming or in the gym or whatever it may be.
Even stretching.
Stretching, yes.
Yeah.
Even just like simple stretching could make such a huge difference in keeping those muscles and keeping that fascia nice and healthy. And of course, as we get older, we're not making the same amount of collagen either. Okay. So all of that plays into it, being that the main component of fascia, which is a connective tissue, is collagen. And so movement, hydration. Okay. Because if you're not well hydrated, your fascia will get dehydrated. It does get sticky, and that allows those knots to form even easier. So hydration is really key. Hydration, a lot of water, the movement, your nutrition. You want to make sure that you're eating nice and healthy.
Speaking of eating nice and healthy, we should take a break and do our commercial.
Yes.
So, Dr. Cruz, what is today's commercial on?
So today's commercial is on our greens, our gastro greens, which is so important to make sure that you have lots of greens in your diet, because it's those greens that keeps your body nice and healthy. It helps to build healthy cells, which then goes to build healthy tissue, healthy fascia, healthy muscles, healthy organs. All right. And if you are not getting the greens that you need, okay, even if you're eating a salad a day, honestly, that's not enough. You need more greens. If you're eating a whole bowl of peas, those are not greens. All right. So what are our greens? Our greens are several different greens that have been taken, dried, and pulverized into powder and put into capsules, so that now you can get your greens in the form of a capsule.
That's right. And if you're taking a standard 1-a-day multivitamin, get off of it and get on the greens.
Exactly.
ASAP.
Exactly.
All right.
Gastro
Thank you
greens.
for that. And on to the fascia conversation. All right. So I want you to talk to them about the knots that you found in your back recently, and how we realized how those knots formed with the scoping position you were in, and the new strategy that we have, in addition to getting the fascia worked.
Exactly.
Right. And what you're doing to work the fascia with the gun. I want you to talk a little bit about that.
With the gun. It's not like a real weapon gun. Okay. Okay.
No, while you're talking, talk to about the journey that you've had with the fascia, and I'm going to get the gun.
Okay. So yes, I'm glad you brought it up. So for years, Tina and I have been getting massages. We've been getting massages for probably, actually, she was pregnant with our twins, and the twins are going to be 17. So it's been 17, 18 plus years that we've been going for regular massage. And I remember even during those massages, our first massage therapist, I remember him very well. His name was Pedro. He was very good, a very passionate Latin man. But I remember him working on my back and telling me, wow, you've got knots in there. So this was, I was in my 40s.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago. So I was in my early 40s, and I remember him feeling those knots and trying to work on them, but they were like really tough. And so we've been trying to be really faithful and very regular and consistent in going for our self-care for almost 20 years, which includes those massages as well as several other things. So it was just recently, like I was telling you, my discovery of the importance of fascia and realizing how that impacts us. Okay. When I started realizing the importance of fascia, and when I learned that those knots in my back were just really knotted up fascia, I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that. And so then I started talking a lot with some of my people that were working on me and with my wife. And we were talking about it. And I told her, I said, these knots that we have are fascia. And so she's like, it's totally one of the things that's probably contributing to that for you is the fact that you've been doing procedures as a gastroenterologist, scoping, standing on your feet all day long, 4 or 5 days a week for almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost 30 years, 25, 30 years. And so that actually is very important because we've talked a lot about the movement. Movement is so important because if you are sitting in the exact same position for hours or standing and doing the same motions with your arms or, with your legs, your fascia basically is going to mold to what you're doing. Okay.
Like you're a sculpture.
Exactly. Like you're a sculpture. It's going to mold to what you're doing. And if you're not hydrating enough, if then later you're not doing some sort of movements, exercise to try to unwind that fascia, you're going to have a lot of knots. And because that fascia surrounds not only muscles, but also nerves and blood vessels, that all affects everything. Okay. One thing that I was experiencing was a lot of pain up here, and I would actually feel like numbness going down my arm. Well, there are a lot of nerves. You've got this plexus, this complex plexus of nerves called the brachial plexus, where you have all these nerves that run to innervate to, through your arm as part of the nervous system. But that's where I was experiencing, but you can have it anywhere in your body, your hips.
Talk about how you're holding the scope.
Okay, so when I hold the scope, because Tina and these clinicians that were working on me, the physical therapists, they're like, how do you hold your scope? So I demonstrate. I hold the controls up here, and then I'm holding the camera with my hand because I'm pushing with my right hand, but I'm holding the scope up here. So my arm is basically suspended up here all day long.
Yeah.
And I'm working my fingers because I work the controls, the little wheels to try to change the direction of the scope, which way it's moving. And all the controls are up here. So this is my position. So, and this is the arm where I have all these knots. Where I have all these knots. Now, we've talked a lot about, we're talking a lot about position also. Remind me to talk about stress.
Okay.
Yeah. Remind me to talk about stress. So anyways, Tina's like, well, honey, why don't you try to rest your arm?
Yeah, I was asking you, is there a reason why it has to be up here? And she's like, well, not really.
It's just the way I was trained.
And if you actually watch most GI docs, they do have it up here. Like they're all trained to have it up here. And I'm like, well, what if you just laid it down?
Yeah. And I actually asked a few of the techs, the endoscopy techs that we work with. I'm like, hey, how do the other gastroenterologists hold their scope? They're like, most of them hold it up here. There's one that rests down here, holds it more, a little more,
like this,
a little bit more relaxed. But but most of the techs that I spoke to said most of the GIs are holding it up here. So, I first started trying to lower my arm a little bit, and I realized quickly that I actually use my arms as leverage also to try to advance and push the camera. And so I was like, okay, I really need a little bit more up here. So what I started doing more was trying to rest my arm more on the gurney, trying to rest a little bit more on the gurney. And so maybe as I'm putting the camera in and advancing it to the end where I need to go, maybe at first my arm will be a little bit up because I need that leverage.
Yeah.
But then once I get to my final destination, and then I'm going to be coming out, and that's where I do my very careful search for polyps and any other abnormalities, then I can rest my arm a little more. And so I started doing that and noticing how I did feel a sense of relief in my shoulder. So like it wasn't as tensed up. It wasn't as tensed up.
So then we'll talk about the gun, and then I want you to talk about some of the stretches.
Oh, yes.
You've been doing your twisting.
Okay.
So this is the gun. And I think most people have seen a gun like this.
Yeah, it's a massage gun.
It's a massage gun, yeah. But we've been using this where she'll lay on her stomach, and I'll just basically pound this into the fascia in this back area where she's feeling the discomfort and the knots, and we're just trying to pound the knots out, basically.
Yeah, and that's really helped a lot. The other thing that we started doing, just us personally, is just alternating during the week where we'll give each other a 10-minute massage on the shoulder, just focusing on the shoulder in the back, and that's actually helped a lot. Also, I did get some physical therapy, mainly myofascial release. And please remind me to talk about stress.
Let's just talk about it right now.
Okay, so stress. Okay, that's a big one. Okay, so what happens as we get older and life starts really happening where we're,
everybody's stressed.
Everybody's stressed. But nowadays, it's like even the kids.
Yeah.
They're
starting younger and younger.
Yeah, they're starting younger and younger. Yeah. So with stress, fascia also tightens up with stress because muscles tighten up, and the muscles are covered by fascia. And so one thing that I started seeing a lot of, because you know how it is, you start researching a topic and now you start seeing everything about that on your social media. I mean, everywhere, even when you look up stuff on your phone, just to do a Google search, all these things start popping up. There's a lot of talk about emotional trauma getting stuck in fascia. And I think what is meant by that, I may be wrong, but I think is that when we do get stressed, everybody feels it differently, but there are muscles in your body that get tensed, that tissue the fascia gets tense. And, and with time, every time you stress, and you get tense, that fascia is going to get tighter and tighter. Okay. And so that's why I've read a lot about people that get myofascial release, where when they finally are able to work some of those knots out and release like fascia that's been cemented down, that person will actually start crying because they're releasing, this built up stress and emotion that's been built up for year after year after year. And so all of that plays into it, I just wanted to mention that because I feel that that's really important, because I've only been scoping, doing procedures for 2000 is when I started. So, 26 years. Yeah. And when we started doing massage, 20 years, maybe not quite 20 years ago, I already had knots. And I'm like, okay, well, I wasn't scoping all those years, but I was under a lot of stress. I mean, you name it, going through college and then going through medical school and then doing all the training after medical school. There's a lot of stress involved in the process of becoming a doctor. All right. The process of, my parents went through a divorce when I was in my early 20s, all of that, and so life is coming at you. So even before you're going on to have a family and dealing with those stresses, there's a lot more that has happened in your younger years, not to mention the trauma that is passed on to you, ancestral trauma from your mother. Okay. I mean, if your mother maybe had her own stress that she was going through, maybe during pregnancy, or that she's carrying, all of that stuff gets passed on, all of that. So it's from even before we're born. centuries.
So talk about some of the stretches. So we talked about the gun.
Okay, so so some of the stretches. So I found this program that where the girl was teaching you. So my physical therapist taught me about unwinding of the fascia. So I started doing some unwinding, and you could look that up. But then I found also this girl that really specializes a lot in fascia, and she does what she calls these fascia flosses. So it's basically moving the muscles, contracting and moving them in certain ways where where it helps you to release the fascia. And so some of the exercises I've been doing now for the past 2-3 weeks focused on the upper body. So a lot with the shoulder. And then some of the other ones that I've incorporated also are for the lower part of the body. So like the hips, the hip area. And what I've noticed, okay, I've only been doing this for 2-3 weeks. I mean, just since the beginning of the year. And also I've been very intentional about where I have my arm when I'm doing procedures. I'm trying to rest my arm a little bit more so it's not in this constant elevated position. But so the combination of all that, I'm trying to make sure I hydrate well, eat well, and as well as doing other exercises, is that I don't feel that tightness and that pain the way I was feeling it. And I'm also not feeling any numbness down my arm. It's crazy.
Can you just give an example of one of the stretches? I can scoot over so
sure. So one of the stretches is, can we lower this a little bit? So one of the stretches is where you basically get into a position where you're, what do you call this position, where you're kind of like in a child's pose?
Yeah, child's pose.
You're in a child's pose position, yoga type position, but you have your arms up here and you're stretching, and then you come back and then you stretch. So your muscles are contracted, and as you go back, you can feel the tug on your shoulders. You can feel that tug. And so what you're doing is you're stretching not just the muscle, but that fascia.
So you're doing it on the ground?
I do it on a yoga mat. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a yoga mat. I just do it on a yoga mat. Another thing is one of them where you've got, so as I'm pushing my arm down, I'm actually contracted. I'm flexed, okay? Because you want that muscle to be contracted, because that's when you're going to have the greater stretch of the fascia. So I'm actually contracting and then bring it up, and again contracting, and where I feel that is all back here. And I do that repetition 8-10 times, so the muscle is activated. You want your muscle to be, it's not like I'm just going down. This does nothing. Okay, I'm actually contracted so that my muscle is activated, and I've got some resistance, and then I'm pushing it down, and then I relax. And the breath work is really important. You have to keep breathing through your movements, okay? The breath, you want to get that oxygen in there. So as I go down, I've got some resistance because I'm activated in my muscle, and I'm pushing it down, and you just feel it. It's miraculous. Mm-hmm. It truly is miraculous what just doing that for the past 2-3 weeks has done for me. And I went for a massage. So Tina and I've been going for massages, and there's a girl that really does a lot with us with fascia. She's like, that's her area of expertise. So I've been going to her for the last 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. And when I first went, I remember she was like, yeah, you're very tight, your fascia, you've got a lot of knots. She goes, it's not quite like cement, but it's pretty hard. And but she goes, we'll work this down. And so we just went on Friday. Mm-hmm. And she worked on me. She's like, wow. She's like, what have you been doing? Because your muscles up here are so much softer than when you first came in. And so I was just telling her about the different fascia flossing, and we've been doing some massaging, and I've been trying to hydrate really well, and so she's like, keep doing it. Because I told her I feel so much better. She goes, keep doing it. She goes, don't stop, because a lot of people, when they start feeling better, then they stop. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm continuing to do it and just trying to show up every day and be consistent with it, because it feels so much better. So it just goes, to me, it really has proved also the importance of that fascia and keeping it healthy, and I can see how my fascia has gotten tight and knotted up through the years. I can like there's 100 reasons why my fascia has done that.
Yeah.
And I think if we all sit back to think about our lives, you could all come up with a long list of reasons why you may be tight.
And those are easy. Some of those stretches or things you share with us are really easy to do at night when you're sitting there watching TV or whatever. Just like get 4 or 5 stretches and just do them while you're sitting there.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Very easy stretches. So it was very well spent $33 because I paid $33 for this program. It was a series of different videos. Well worth it.
We'll put the link for the videos in the podcast description.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So anyways, that's my story on fascia.
All right. Awesome. The Wonders of Fascia.
Yeah. If you have any questions about it or just want to connect with us, you can find us on our website, drlizcruz.com. And there is a magenta color button on the homepage that you can click and schedule a free 30-minute wellness consult. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you haven't rated us, please rate us and please give us a 5. It'll help other people just like you to find us faster. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you on the next podcast.
Thank you for joining Dr. Liz Cruz and Tina Nunziato. To learn more about their revolutionary products and services, go online to www.drlizcruz.com.